Are you fed up with the corporate bullshit holding you back? Welcome to Invest in Yourself, the Digital Entrepreneur Podcast, the ultimate launchpad for entrepreneurs ready to seize control and unleash their creative genius. Hosted by Phil Better, the Podcast Mogul. Each week he's breaking the chains of conventional work with bold strategies, raw insights, and inspiring success stories from the digital entrepreneurs who took the risk and invested in themselves. This is your call to arms. Invest in yourself, break free from someone else's rules, and build the empire you deserve. Now let's dive headfirst into today's explosive episode.
Welcome back to another episode of Invest in Yourself, the Digital Entrepreneur Podcast. I'm, of course, your host with the most, Phil Better. And today we are joined by someone who is truly remarkable, and their story of resiliency and transformation will leave you speechless. Today's guest is a survivor in every sense of the word, having overcome stage 4 melanoma with massive scientific keyword in the brain after a decade-long battle that included 10 surgeries, not one, 10 surgeries, four of them craniotomies, whatever that means. We'll learn about that. When pharmaceuticals nearly destroyed his body, they took a leap of faith, turning to a natural, holistic approach to healing. Now, 12 years later and cancer-free, they are on a mission to help others transform their health and vitality, especially those facing the threat of cancer. But after transitioning from their role of chief technology officer that they were doing for so long to become a holistic health coach, a master of transformational coaching, a function nutritionist, a rapid transformational therapist practitioner, and, just a Reiki master, nothing else among the top level of certifications that they have. They're also a best-selling Amazon author called Beating the Odds, My Journey Through Holistic Health to Overcoming Advanced Cancer, which serves as an inspiration to countless readers, offering hope and practical insight into holistic healing. But this is just nothing. They're also an NCAA Division I tennis champ, playing tennis, running half marathons. Passion for life is infectious with this guest. I am so happy to have this because this interview will no doubt motivate you to overcome your limiting beliefs and challenges and live your life with purpose. So please welcome the extraordinary, the courageous, the amazing Coach George. Coach, thank you so much for being here.
Thank you, Phil, for inviting me. Thank you for that introduction as well. It's every time I hear it, I can't but think, I don't really wish my journey through cancer, but the fact that I'm alive and I can share and help others is just really my life purpose now. So thank you for inviting me.
I am so excited. When I read that you survived cancer and you kind of gave somewhat the middle finger, if you will, to the traditional sense of healing to go holistic. And 12 years later, you're kicking ass, taking names. I am thoroughly enjoyed because I want to learn about your story, how that helped transform you into the coach you are today. So we're going to start with the basic question. Why did you become an entrepreneur? You were a chief technological officer. You had cancer. A lot of people who have cancer go back to that job or somewhat a little more low key, but you decided, heck no, you're going to become an entrepreneur, which we all know is fraught with stress and challenges. So why did you decide after, beating cancer to go into another challenge?
Yeah, the thing is, Phil, when I was diagnosed, I was just promoted to become a chief technology officer. I was in technology through all my career. That's what I studied when I was playing tennis for Division I tennis, NCAA Division I tennis. So, no one wants, like I said, no one wants to hear their diagnosis, but in my case, it was a very accelerated. Melanoma is very, very aggressive, unpredictable, and it by the time I knew I had it, it was already through my lymph nodes, and it was already it was stage 3, but I had to really, the impact that I had on me personally, we at the time had 5 young children, and and that brought more anxiety to me. I mean, what's going to happen here? I'm an athlete. I'm a good person. I take these kids camping. I'm their soccer coach. I'm just getting in my MBA. It's just like what's happening here? What happened? Why me? And I had no idea how much it was going to really affect my career as well. And I was going through a huge project. We had Royal Caribbean Cruise Lines as our a client, and I was taking on that project. Actually, my team, because I was just um, promoted to CEO. But the reason I did is I loved what I was doing. I was helping people by developing software for them, companies to become more, let's say, productive and so forth. That was always a nice thing, that you had something that you built for somebody else, and it's providing the ROI was fast and all this stuff. But as I was going through my progress here, I had a lot of leave of absence. And so I had a call to say, hey, look, you have to resign. You lost a couple of key people that were really there in a way because of you. You're not showing up. So like you mentioned, I said, well, I'm gonna resign, and then when I'm better, I'll just go maybe start again, maybe as a director or manager. But I had this little call in my intuition that maybe it was the divine and my person of health kind of like sending me a message. And it came to a point where I realized that this thing wasn't happening to me. It was happening for me. I really took this particular mindset to say, maybe because I had already lost some people that started the same day, with all this treatments and stuff, and they started passing away. I was the only one in that group that survived. So I had this survivor guilt for a while. But the moment that I realized that there was a reason for me to get what I got, and fighting it, I always saw it as my toughest opponent. And I think that played a big part of me surviving. I had a 4% chance of survival once I had the metastasis in the brain. And my daughters, the only girl we have, now they're adults, she's going to be 30, but the only girl of 5, their godfathers are physicians, and he's on top of that, he's a surgeon in Miami, Florida. And so I told him at one point, when it came to my brain, I had already 8 surgeries on me, and now I get this thing that just came in my front lobe. If you see me closer, you could see the foracoinomies, and I have several scars in my body. But he comes, and I say, look, come before the kids come from school. I know you have the day off, and get into the New England Journal of Medicine and tell me exactly who my opponent is now that is in my brain. And so he comes. I'm half Greek and half Spaniard. My dad is from Madrid, my mother from Greece, and his parents are Italian. All of them actually migrated to America after World War II, and they decided to go to Venezuela. I'm from South America. English is my second language. I speak Spanish. I speak both. So he comes and he sits. Mind you, all Mediterranean people, we're very emotional. So
I have a brother-in-law who's Italian, and there's a lot of large
a lot of
passions coming out in the conversation.
Yeah, absolutely. So he comes and he sits down, 6'4", 6'5", also tennis player, and And he sits, he logs in and he starts reading. And all of a sudden I see that he starts getting emotional. He sheds some tears. And I say, well, let me read it. So he stands up, I sit down, and he did say that when melanoma, and this is already so aggressive and it goes up with 8 tumors in the brain, I had a 4% chance of surviving. And so I'm reading that and I look at him, I'm only 5'10". I'm looking him up like that's just, his name is Steven. I say, Steve, tell me why I cannot be one of those 4 that survive. In fact, I'm going to be one of those 4. And he cried. He actually cried. He said, but you see, if I would have gotten what you have, I would have died with just stress and anxiety. But you're something, and actually I put him in a book that I wrote in one of the credits, because he did say, when I decided, it got to a point, going back to why I became an entrepreneur, in year 8, as I was struggling still with my disease, like I said, it was 10 years and 10 surgeries. I started to think that this thing was not working for me. It was like surgery, treatment, what they call remission, quote unquote, and then recurrence. Thank God, surgery again. I was lucky, by the way. In many cases, in almost all cases, my tumors were operable, except 2 of the brain tumors in my back were not operable. And I'll tell you about that. But so the bottom line is I go and tell my wife that I'm thinking of going into the health and wellness world. And she goes, what? She's also, at that time, she's a biologist, but she was actually working as X-ray tech and ultrasound tech for Baptist Hospital. And also in the medical, I said, no, man, you got to keep doing what you're doing. And I really said, and this is something that I like to share with the audience, obviously with you, Phil. Healing, my brother, is from the inside out. It happens from the inside out. I just did a talk with the cancer conquering community about mountains. You can move your mountains with that famous biblical thing. If you have faith as small as a mustard seed, which is the smallest seed in the world, you will be able to tell these mountains to move from here and there, and it will happen. By the way, I use that through my process, especially when I decided to go natural. This is something that, again, they thought I was crazy. So my first leap of faith was, I'm going to go natural. And I went, everybody against my wife, family, friends, especially the ones in the medical world, because they don't know anything else but what they do, which is not right. But I have to say that I would not be here if it wasn't for those 10 surgeries and 4 in the brain and 2 gamma knives, so it's 6 in the brain. And I'm not a fan of the conventional treatments. Organ transplants, all the stuff, emergency surgeries. Man, that I tell you, I command the medical world. But when it comes to cancer and treatments, there are many other alternatives. So anyway, I made that decision. The first was that, and I told I went to talk to the oncologist and say, look, doctor, I'm going to stop doing all this stuff. It was almost 8 years doing that. He goes, are you sure, Georges? And I said, yeah, I'm sure, Dr. Fon. I mean, I'll say his name. He doesn't mind. He gave me permission for that. And I say, yeah, but I'd appreciate, and not every oncologist does this. If anybody's listening and had this similar experience, even when they go, let's say, I have clients that they go completely free of cancer and through the scans, and they are recommended to continue their treatments in case it comes back. What is that? And I tell my clients, well, you have to use your intuition. It's from the inside out. If you believe you're all right, Why should you keep going with your treatments? You're cancer free, man. You're not in remission. That's a really negative statement, because it gives you psychologically, it gives you this doubt that it could come back. No, you feel cancer for good. It's gone. And so the thing was that he said, okay, well, because I said, but I would love for you to continue to do my follow-ups. And he said, okay. And if you ever want to, you can go back into treatments. There was always new stuff and so forth. So we started doing that, and he could not believe it. He said, my goodness, you're getting better and better. I don't know what you're doing. And I explained what I was doing. I went natural. I went God's Pharmacy, but I also studied a lot, and with my competitive spirit and how I did in tennis, I used a lot of my mental rehearsing. I did a lot of visualizations, winning the matches, coming from behind, ignoring my father, who was a tennis. He was.
That's a dangerous thing to do.
Oh man, ignored him on the tennis court when I was playing, and you could have hundreds of people watching you, and I could hear my dad, because everybody wanted to be as good as him or better. He was a Davis Cup player, and so I had to learn all this stuff. But guess what? I used all of that when I was sick. I started to imagining myself especially when I went natural, when I decided to stop everything. I detoxed myself from all the chemo and radio that I have been taking for 7 years, almost 8. And I just got even brighter, and then I after my first craniotomy, which was from ear to ear, to remove a pretty large tumor in my front lobe. And they gave me these capsules that would penetrate my brain, which almost killed me. I was right over the roof. It was just like, I don't know, taking some really accelerating drug. That's when I decided. I said, look, I mean, this is year 8. I'm not going to be living, with treatment. Stop, no way. So that was my first leap of faith. And then as I was going forward, I started becoming interested in becoming a Reiki master, a nutritionist, because I already had this feeling that I was born for something else, not for being a technology executive. And I was doing well. That was, we didn't have a real bad investment. So the timing wasn't the best, but I said, I'm doing it. I'm going to go. Because this is the deal, and I say it in my book, my survival experience of 10 years of surgeries and in obviously battling the cancer was a blessing, because it gave me the chance to sing the song I was born to sing, which is helping people. And today, all I do is helping people prevent the disease, or if they have cancer, they're dealing with cancer, I'm working with them, and I help. Whether it's prevention or managing the disease, if they do the work, they will experience a transformation of their health and vitality. And most of the time also, they really start thinking of really their life purpose, because a lot of people are just existing, like Oscar Wilde used to say, that we're very weird. Only we do is exist. That's not good. Many people live the same year 85 times or 90 or less. And that is not good. You gotta, life is to enjoy it, man. We're here just temporarily. So that's why I became an entrepreneur. And it wasn't easy in the beginning. It wasn't easy, from going to, before that, I was a director before I became a CTO. So I was for the last 15 years before I decided that, I was really managing teams, 25 people, 40 people, and then there came this huge project with Royal Caribbean. And that was a pretty big project. And I even had some consultants under me and even furniture people. We did all the logistics. Yeah.
It's like I usually deal with technology, but now I have to decide what couch works well.
Yeah,
It's a little different.
they dumped that on me. Well, you're managing this so good. Your managers, have them manage the logistics of where the ships are going to be, so they can actually put the new furniture. We were doing internet cafes for all their fleet. And the internet cafe in those days, they were very, remember in the early 2000s. So that's really why I started. And one thing that happened, and this was started by my doctors wanting me to speak in one of their conference, because like my buddy and my daughter's godfather, Stefano, he said, look, for them, you're a trophy. You are a trophy. People like you don't survive. Look at Camila. Look at all these guys that were with you, and Nestor, and that was right. So they invited me to speak. They had their gala or something like that, and that really prompted me. I mean, since I was little, I was a storyteller with my kids. Sometimes with my friends, I would actually make up stuff, and then, oh my God, really? So I found that I was so comfortable, plus also sharing my story and what I did, that they invited me to another place, and so I became a speaker. And now I go around and share my story, but people walk away with many tips to prevent the disease. And if they have it, there's some key things that they can do to eliminate the environment where these cancer cells or chronic disease cells strive to live and grow. If I can teach you that, you will not. And this is what my naturopath taught me, which is all about the balance of your pH in your body. Mm-hmm. All chronic disease, Phil, they start in an inflamed body because we eat too fast, we eat when we're stressed, we chew too fast, and with time, and actually eat too many things that are acidic, especially sodas. I see people having 3 or 4 cans of soda a day, or a super or whatever.
Mega size,
king size or extra king size. If you drink a can of soda, which has about 10, depending on the soda, 10 to 12 teaspoons of refined sugar, you need 32 glasses of water to alkaline yourself after that can of soda. So who does that? Who doesn't? People don't even know that. And as you keep doing that, you bringing acidity to your body and you inflame all your tissue. And that's where any chronic disease really surface. All chronic disease. Now, I did a talk in Toronto 3 weeks ago, and there was a holistic MD. He was a family doctor. He got cancer, and he did the same thing. See, the mind, one of the rules of the mind, and I'm going to share some stuff with your audience, with you. I'm going to send you a link so you can download it from my drive. There's 12 rules of the mind, but one of them is that the mind goes to what is familiar. And Phil, what is familiar in the West is that when you get cancer, you go running to an oncologist. There's nothing else. There's not even a possibility for anybody in your family, your friends. It's all, I gotta go here. And it really is not like that way. In my 8 years doing coaching, there's only 4 people that actually did it exactly like me. They say, you know what, I'm gonna stop. And the truth is that there's 8 million Georges out there that actually went natural. They took the natural route to heal, just like in the East. And then you see there the recovery percentages in the East are much larger than in the West. So that's why I became an entrepreneur. All of a sudden, with the speaking, I started to get discovery sessions and basically starting to help with my protocols. But I still continue to add stuff to my arsenal, so to actually give more value to my clients. I became a hypnotherapist, rapid transformational therapist last year, which is really, really amazing for people are going through cancer, because there's depression in there, there's fear, there's a lot of anxiety, and there are beliefs. This is another one. I know that we're going too much. I love this. But all disease, write this down, people. All disease is emotional. And the reason many people continue to get recurrences is because they have not found the root cause. It manifested in the body, but all disease is emotional. We got emotional clutter since we are, and I learned this going for 3 years, since we're in our mother's wombs. And as youngsters, anything that happens, we take responsibility for it, and we create beliefs that really, ultimately, they're producing serotonin and cortisol without us knowing. Maybe you hear a song or you see a movie and you remember, just by doing that, you're producing cortisol and you're inflaming your body. So there's so many tips. Today, it was really good to talk with all these cancer folks, because, man, when I hear them talking, I'm thinking, wow, it's fear-based. It's dramatic, oh my goodness. Hey, when I start a talk, whether it's 10 people or 1,000, I always said, after they introduce me, I'm going to have to bring you, man. I had never had an introduction like yours. It was so good. But let me tell you, man, I always said, hey, raise your hand before I start going. Raise your hand if you're terminal. And you always see one, if there's a small crowd, maybe know somebody, hey, no, I'm not sick. And so, but I say, look, for those who did not raise their hand, if this was a test you flunked, we are all terminal. We just don't know when are we going to go. So it's a mindset. If the doctor tells you you're terminal, you're going to go home and cry to death? No. You could be actually going home and have an accident in your car and die not of cancer, man. And then the other one, and so everybody kind of like laughs a little shy. And I said, well, here's another one, and I'll get going. I said, raise your hand if you are absolutely 100% sure that you're going to open your eyes tomorrow morning. And nobody. And I said, you see how mental this thing is? Oh, because the doctor told me, which is, again, you're giving all your power to the doctor. And we forget the power of our mind, the power of our subconscious mind, the power of forgiveness, and which is healing. I'm writing a second book about the healing power of forgiveness. And then our spirituality, which is our connection with each other, with this amazing planet, which is so amazing and beautiful, and Mother Earth that we're continuing to try to beat up. And she's so cool, and so, okay, yeah, keep beating me up until one day our grandkids will not have the same things we have. So we have to be careful with all this. But so yeah, and the journey of being an entrepreneur, doing this wouldn't be as fun. It's tough. I'm doing this 8 years, and now is when I seeing a flow more. It seems like people are getting more and more times cancer and younger. Mm-hmm. I just finished doing a whole 90-day tour with an 18-year-old kid graduating from high school, having melanoma, by the way. And, I have plenty of clients so far in 8 years that basically had melanoma. And with women, typically is breast cancer or ovarian cancer, but it's mainly breast cancer. 1 of 2 men, it is anticipated now with the national, well, this is the World Health Organization, but the National Cancer Institute for the U.S., they're predicting 1 or 2 men will have cancer in their lifetimes, and 1 of 3 women will have cancer in their lifetime. The other thing is that I gave in Toronto, I did the State of Health of Canada and the U.S. The State of Health in the U.S., 48.9% of the U.S. adults currently have 1 or 2 chronic diseases, cancer included. So, and if we keep going with this trend, By 2030, half of the nation will be obese, not overweight, obese. So we call healthcare. Well, we got to make some changes. I'm really advocacy now of, hey, change your lifestyle. Try to give yourself some time in the morning to nourish yourself. Go to the gym or I do 2 hours in the morning since I got sick. Before it was just half hour, an hour when I was as an athlete, but I understood, especially when I got diagnosed, that I was not giving time. I was not giving time for me. I didn't have time for me. I was a coach. I was still playing tournaments. I was, an executive already in my career. I was doing my MBA. I mean, I was all over the place, and the least thing I was doing is relaxing. I was strong. And thank God for that, because I think my spirit as an athlete, not only physically but mentally, helped me a lot through my battle. Yeah.
My God. George, so first thing, I have a couple questions. I want to know, because I always ask, what's one question you've never been asked? And you put down, do you believe you are a miracle? I want to know, do you believe that you are a walking miracle today?
Yes, but I believe you're one too. We are miracles. And yes, and even maybe you could say a double miracle. But knowing what I know now, and this is another key thing to know. Most of us, great question by the way, most of us do not know how to receive, Phil. It is easier to give than receive. You could even see that when you're going to lunch with a buddy and then you're arguing who's going to pay the bill. Oh, let's split it. No. Allow yourself to be loved. If I want to invite you to lunch, allow that to happen. And here's the formula, because that's my third book, is the Miracles Formula. It's going to be title. I love that you asked this question. You see, when we started, I know that some people was going to flow. When somebody, and I actually experienced that through all my journey of battling cancer. When somebody came to the house at 7:30 in the morning with let's say a bowl of lentils, so my wife would not have to cook for her, for the kids, and for me. It was 7 of us at home. I would hear it. I was like in fetal position after my treatment that day, and I would hear that. That was healing for me. I said, wow, I was not expecting this guy, John, to come over to do that. The guy even, So if here's the miracle formula. We're miracles because we came through our parents, through the universe. They're our parents, but that's a miracle. So we're walking, all of us are working miracles, but we don't believe that. We don't even allow our mind to think of that. Man, you are a miracle, I'm a miracle. But in all the cases, when people say, man, I this guy just, he asked for this and he got it. But I'm a person of faith, but I don't get it. The reason we don't get when we ask, there's 2 reasons. If it's not good for us, we're not going to get it. But if it is good for us, the universe, let's call it the universe, some people may not believe in a God, but the universe conspires and says, yeah, here it is, Phil. But you somehow block that miracle because you inside may not feel worth receiving. And that's why we always say, oh, no, thank you. Or you think the guy or the lady might have a hidden agenda. No, man, open up that heart and allow people to love you, to give you. You can actually sense the spirituality of somebody trying to give you something. So if I want to offer you something today, and that is going to be very positive to you, and you say, man, thank you so much, with an open heart, and a channel opens where God makes the miracles. And that's what happened to me, especially when I decided to go natural. Everything happened to me. I say God conspired, or the universe started sending me angels, man. I mean, literally, in the form of humans. A friend of mine, my aunt's aunt, or somebody, a colleague at work. I mean, it's amazing when you see. And by the way, those people could be Indian, Pakistani, Jewish, Christian, Protestant, or Catholic. It doesn't matter. They had that source of compassion, and they had a good intention. So if you open your heart to your heart to a good intention, things happen, man. Miracles happen. Other miracles, because we're walking miracles. We were designed to be in this earth in this miracle. Yeah.
George, you have completely blown my mind. 100% truly, because your story is so unique, and I'm so, like, when I read it, I knew we were going to have a great interview. I just didn't know how deep we were going to go with the way, and I know my audience is going to really take a lot away from this and from your story, understanding that Western health is good for, certain aspects, but to heal some of those harder to reach things, we need to look to the East, because the East has something that we don't. They understand the spirituality of life versus, organized spirituality, which then becomes religion.
Exactly.
I love that you are on. Unfortunately, we're going to have to finish, which I hate. So I'm going to skip investing in yourself, because I believe your investing is always learning, leading with an open heart, and just, you said it, working out, knowing what's going inside your body, being present to receive.
Yeah, nourish yourself, because time is of the essence. Our time is not renewable. So if we take care of ourselves and we feel good about ourselves, we start receiving. But guess what? Everybody around you will feel better, because you feel better. You cannot love somebody until you love yourself. Truly love somebody. So work on yourself, and if you can contact me or your audience, I'll give you so many tips about what to do. It is so important and so simple that people say, wow, this is simple, but it's not easy, because we have to change our habits, which is not hard, but all the answers are there to heal from the inside out, or more importantly, to prevent being one of the statistics that I just shared with you. Yeah.
So we're going to hit the final question.
Uh-huh.
I have your 10-year-old self here. Very spirited, very active. I would love to know what advice you would love to be able to hand back to your 10-year-old self.
I would say, Georges, no one will believe in you until you believe in you.
That is...
And yeah, and the reason for that is, we, unfortunately, this is part of our society. Unfortunately, we lose our power, which is intuition. Intuition is our best coach. But as kids, our parents, our teachers, pastors, we start giving this power away, because God forbid you having a nice dream of something, and it's just like, oh no, just listen to your uncle, listen to this and that, and now obviously you keep progressing like that, and then you're listening just to the doctor. I have to share that when I even before I went natural, I would wait for my turn in the cancer center in Miami, in the garden. And I asked the nurse practitioner to beat me when it was my turn. The reason for that is, when I would sit with everybody else there, you could just feel the fear, the trauma, it's just the anxiety, energy there that is not good for anybody. And then you have the caregivers I mean, like I say, our mind is trained that cancer is an assassin, and it comes here. We see it with uppercase letters and bolded letters when it's really so little that you need a scan to see it. So, I did several things that really helped me in my process. For example, I never allowed myself to call myself a patient. I was somebody that had an issue. I went there, and then we can maybe talk offline, or I know that we're done. But I have a story. If I looked at my Greek side of the family, the landscape, I felt I was doomed. And it happened. I was diagnosed 3 weeks after my mom passed with cancer. But I said, because I fear the diseases, I was 4. I saw my grandfather, his brothers, then my grandmother's sisters, another uncle, things like that. My uncle, my mother's, and actually passing young, 55 years old. And, my mother, then she passed at 64. And 3 weeks later, I had it. I fear the disease. Remember the secret? That which is really true. There's no secret. I think I attracted that because it was a belief. I formed a belief as a youngster that everybody on my Greek side of the family was getting cancer. So I would tell my 10-year-old, no one will believe in you until you believe in you. And if somebody would tell me that at that age and gave me that, it was in the contrary. It was like we didn't know anything. It's changed now with millennials, and now the AI generation is changing, thank God. But in my time, I was born in 1960, everything was a protection. I understand that they came from war and there was trauma there. But anyway, that's what I would tell my 10-year-old.
I think we need not just 10-year-olds, but everybody needs to believe in themselves a lot more and stop give their agency away to others. George, as I decompress in the story that you shared with us in this amazing interview, I'm going to jump off stage. I want you to let my audience know how they can connect with you so that they can get some of those great pieces of tips that you have so that they can take their learning, their belief in themselves to the next level. The floor, sir, is yours.
Yes. I do have a website where you can go and basically schedule a discovery session. I have an intake form in there. It comes automatically. As you do that, you're going to receive a free ebook on your balanced pH and your health. And I also offer some other things once we do our discovery session. I also have a Calendly link that Phil will actually share with you guys when the episode goes live. Between those two things, that's the best way to contact me. I'm also, if you go to add Coach Georges in Instagram, I have a pretty big following there. You could DM me there or in Facebook. But the main thing, it's just do yourself a favor and schedule 30 minutes with me. And if you go through the website just to get the ebook, that will be fun too. But there's a lot more stuff that once we do the discovery session, I'll give it to you anyway. My thing is helping people. I work with folks that are dealing with cancer or they want to prevent the disease, and I help them transform their health and vitality. And there are some things that work for both sides of the equation. For example, the pH balance, like I said, if you have a balanced pH, there's no way you can get even a cold. And if you already have a disease and you learn how to balance your pH and you have a balanced pH, you definitely are eliminating the environment where this disease strives to live and duplicate or trip, So just with that one, it's just amazing. And then, how to eat. One last thing I like to share is as a nutritionist that I am now, when it comes to nutrition and digestion, 25% is what you eat, and 75% is who you are when you're eating. Are you stressed out? Do you chew too fast? Do you eat only in 10 minutes because you want to do errands before you got to go back to work? Or if you're an entrepreneur because your numbers are not hitting or whatever it is, that is going to affect your digestion. And that's how, by the way, we start building inflammation in our bodies and acidity. It's not just what we eat. You could be vegan. You could be, whatever. I'm not an extremist. I just teach you how to create balanced pH plates. If you're going to have a piece of meat, you need to chew at least 30 times. But if you're going to have it with French fries or fried stuff, that doesn't go good because the meat itself is acidic. But if you eat it with greens, a salad, or anything that is alkaline, you will alkaline that plate, and that's all you need. Sodas, try to stay away from that. But there's a lot more, and so when you get a hold of my Calendly link, or you can go to www. It's not easy. I'm going to change that domain, but you can go to Qualivita, which is Q as query, U as an umbrella, A as an apple, L as in Larry, E as in Emily, V as in Victor, I as in Irene, T as in Tom, A. It reads Qualivita. In the Latin language, is two words, Qualivita, which is quality of life. And that's where I aim with my clients. Do they have the living wellness and with purpose? God bless you guys. And Phil, thank you so much for inviting me. This was, I can say this. The host has a lot to do with the interview. Kudos to you.
Thank you so much, George. I am really looking forward to getting that how to be able to pH and balance my body, because that's something important. The little fact about needing 36 cups of water after a simple soda blew my mind. I'm leaving soda behind because I don't want to drink 36 cups of water, because that means I'm going to spend most of my time in the bathroom. I have more stuff to do than sit in the bathroom.
It's 32, yeah. But
32 yeah. Even. But George, I want to thank you so much for being here. It was a pleasure chatting with you. Your story is inspirational, and what you've left my audience from them listening is probably mounds of takeaways, which I'm looking forward to reading once I get the transcript, because I'm more of a reader learner, so it's going to be great to read that and get your ebook. So I thank you again for being here.
Thank you.
To my audience, please make sure you check out the show notes down below. Connect with George, especially if you know someone, if you are dealing with an illness that it could be quote unquote terminal. We're all technically terminal, but if the doctor's saying it's a terminal, make sure you reach out to George, because maybe he can help you become one of those percentages of surviving, and we can increase those percentages from, low 4% to, 94%, which is a much better success rate. George, thank you so much. To my audience, thank you so much. Remember to always invest in yourself.
Thanks for joining us on Invest in Yourself, the Digital Entrepreneur Podcast. The Podcast Mogul reminds you that your journey to freedom and success starts with one powerful move: investing in yourself. If today's episode sparked your fire, hit that follow button on Spotify and drop us a comment. Share your wins, your challenges, and what drives you to break free from the corporate grind. Remember, you're your best investment. Always invest in yourself, because your potential is limitless. Until next time, keep hustling and take control of your destiny.